Hi, everybody, and welcome to Lovefraud Live. So, Showtime, the cable channel, premiered a new documentary called Lovefraud on Sunday, and personally, I think the show is terrific. I'm Donna Anderson, author of Lovefraud.com, and today I'm going to explain that if you have watched the Lovefraud show and find it a little hard to believe, well, you should believe it. It is totally accurate. I know because I lived it. First of all, I'm not affiliated with the Lovefraud TV show. I did have a conversation with the producers as they began the project, but that was the end of my involvement. However, I guess they liked the name of my book and website because they borrowed it. So, Lovefraud, the TV show, tells the story of this prolific romance scammer, Richard Scott Smith, who swindled an unknown number of women, but many, who he met online. There are three things about this production that make it different from similar shows that you may see on Investigation Discovery or Lifetime. First of all, Lovefraud is highly emotional. Now, as we know, emotions are how sociopaths hook us, and emotions are how they damage us. And in this show, you see it. One of the reasons why they are able to emphasize the emotions is because the documentary is long. They're telling the story over 4 one-hour episodes. By comparison, when my story was featured on the Investigation Discovery show, Who the Bleep Did I Marry?, it was only a half hour long. So in the TV show Lovefraud, there's plenty of time to see the victims telling how they feel and struggling with their emotions on camera. Secondly, you see the story unfolding in real time. The victims in this show banded together to go after the perp, and the cameras went right along with them. The producers actually became part of the story, following what happened every step of the way, which makes the action feel immediate and real. As you watch the show, you're wondering, what's going to happen next? Finally, Lovefraud is a work of art. It almost has a film noir quality to it, with hazy scenes and an emphasis on visual details, like a telephone booth under a streetlight, or a close-up of a person's cats as he is being interviewed. Several reviewers have commented on how the filmmakers solved the problem of not having video of key moments in the story, like when the perp meets the victims. In many other TV shows, they recreate the scenes using actors. Well, Lovefraud actually uses animation, and I think it works really well. Still, if you're one of the lucky ones watching the show who hasn't been caught in a romance scam, you might have difficulty believing it. Does this stuff really happen? I assure you it does. I know from talking to hundreds, even thousands of my Lovefraud.com readers and from my own experience. My ex-husband was one of the pioneers of online romance scams. He started looking for targets long before Google, Facebook, and Match.com even existed. Now, James Montgomery took $227,000 from me. He took $100,000 from the mistress he kept while married to me. He took $200,000 from the wife before me, who died, and another $200,000 from the wife before her. And he took $200,000 to $300,000 from a previous girlfriend. And those were just the victims who testified at my divorce. There were more. Because of my experience, I launched Lovefraud.com to educate people about sociopaths. That's what romance scammers are. I also wrote my book entitled Lovefraud, published in 2010, which reads much like the TV show Lovefraud. So, in both my book and the show, what you are seeing is a sociopath in action and the damage he leaves in his wake. You may not realize it, but many aspects of the TV show actually highlight typical sociopathic behavior. So here are 10 strange but true details that I saw in the show, plus one scary fallacy. Okay, number 1, scammers don't sleep at night. Sociopaths frequently have extremely high levels of energy, short attention spans, and a need for excitement. As a result, many of them require very little sleep. While you sleep, they're online looking for more victims. Number 2, sociopaths like TV shows and movies about sociopaths. Smith, the Lovefraud scanner, liked to watch American Greed and Lifetime TV shows in which husbands stalk their wives, according to one of the victims. This is typical. Sociopaths like to watch Predators. Other favorites include American Psycho and Silence of the Lambs. Number 3, the eyes didn't look right. Intense eye contact. That's one of the warning signs that I include in my book, Red Flags of Love Fraud, 10 Signs You're Dating a Sociopath. You can call it the predatory stare. Or sometimes the eyes seem empty, like no one is home inside. And that's true because no one is. Number 4, he rushed the wedding. This is another warning sign in my Red Flags of Love Fraud book. Moves fast to hook up. Sociopaths typically want to get their hooks into you before you figure out what's going on and escape. That's why they sweep you off your feet into whirlwind romance. But don't think that you can avoid con artists simply by taking things slowly. Plenty of these scammers will patiently implement the long con and wait until their opportunity arrives to take something from you. Control freak. You've been a control freak since day one. That's what one of Smith's victims accused him in a recorded phone call. Bingo! The reason why sociopaths engage in relationships is to exert power and control over others. That is their only motivation. They are totally incapable of love, so the only thing that gives them personal satisfaction is domination. Number 6, married and quickly lost everything. I was married to him for 9 months and I lost everything. That's what one of the victims in the Love Fraud show said. You think that's unrealistic? Actually, it happens all the time. Romance scammers usually start asking for financial help early on, as soon as they think the target is ripe. Once they're married, the pressure accelerates. They push for joint accounts, credit cards, car leases, and home equity loans. Spouses are broke before they know what happened. Number 7, the sob story. I never really fit in, Smith says in another recorded phone call, lamenting his lack of friends and relationships. Cue the crocodile tears. This is a typical sociopathic strategy called the pity play, which I also described in my Red Flags book. The sociopath's objective is to make you feel sorry for him or her, because there are female sociopaths, but they want you to feel sorry so that you're more likely to give them what they want. It's a very powerful appeal, and it often works. Number 8, multiple unsuspecting girlfriends. So Smith's friend from junior high school and high school told the interviewer he thought it would be cool to see how many girls he could date at the same time and not get caught. My con artist ex-husband did exactly the same thing in high school, although in his case, the girls found out about each other and busted him. He was still doing it at 55 years old. While engaged to me, he invited his longtime girlfriend to stay with him at his dead wife's townhouse and then took the girlfriend's car to visit me for a romp in the bedroom. Did you catch all that? Yeah. Okay, here's number 9. Strategically plans every move. The victims in the Love Fraud show have sought the help of a female bounty hunter named Carla to go after Richard Scott Smith. So Carla explains he strategically plans every move he makes on every woman. She is absolutely correct. Here's what sociopaths do when they meet you. First, they find out if you have anything that they want. Second, they figure out your vulnerabilities. Third, they use your vulnerabilities to get you to give them what they want. Now, I know of many victims who were married for years. Suddenly, the sociopath left them. And then they discovered that their bank accounts were empty, the mortgage was in default, and multiple credit cards were opened in their names. The perp had a strategic plan, and when the time came, he executed it. Finally, here's number 10. Marriage means what yours is his. So if he marries them, then it's his, Carla, the bounty hunter, explains. It's community property. Sociopaths know this. My ex-husband ran up my credit cards. So one of our frequent arguments about money went something like this. "The debts are yours," I yelled. "You ran up the charges." "We're married," he calmly replied. "My debts are your debts." I was shocked, but I later found out that it was true. Even though the judge in my divorce said my ex-husband was responsible for the credit card debt, the credit card companies didn't care, and they demanded payment from me. I ended up bankrupt. I'm almost finished with this presentation, so if you have any questions, please send them along now. So, I said in the beginning that I would also explain one scary fallacy in the Love Fraud show. Here it is. At one point in the episode, Richard Scott Smith's high school friend says, "I don't think he knows the difference between right and wrong anymore." This is not true. Sociopaths absolutely know right from wrong. They just don't care. They have no emotional or moral attachment to doing what is right, and no internal controls preventing them from doing what is wrong. So, if you want to watch the Love Fraud show, Showtime is running a special at the moment where you can see the premiere episode for free. I don't know how long it'll be available, but you can go to their website to check it out. And I do recommend the show. It really will help you either understand what goes on or see that other people have endured what you've endured. Okay, so let's see what kind of questions we have here now. So somebody says the director did a little too much dramatic camera angling, too much dramatic lighting, darkness, etc. I actually kind of like that, and because it made the production really engaging, at least from my point of view. Of course, everybody's a critic, and we all have our own ideas. But I liked the show. I liked how they did it. I thought it was very different, and I thought it really drew you in to the story, which is important because we all need to know that this goes on, and it goes on a lot. I mean, I have 10,000 cases. They don't involve quite the scale of this particular situation, but many of them do. I just got a case in the other day where a woman found out that she was the guy's 9th wife. I mean, this stuff happens all the time, and we as a society need to be aware of it. So I'm thrilled that that Showtime is running this and that the producers did such a good job, and I can't wait to see the rest of the episodes. Okay. You need to have your own show. Yes, I'd love to do that. So hopefully one of these days that will happen. Okay, so Monica says, sociopaths have multiple relationships at one time so they can catch the slow committers. they are always on the prowl. My ex-husband never stopped looking on the internet. And he had this one girlfriend, the girlfriend that I mentioned, who he brought up to stay, and his wife, and then took her car. He was dating her since at least 1992. I met him in 1996. In between, he married another wife before me, who died while they were home alone. Then he married me. And then after I left him, 10 days later, he married the girlfriend while still married to me. So he committed bigamy twice that we know of. There may be more. But this is what he did. And this is what lots of these guys do. And women. There are women who do it as well. But yeah, it's pretty scary stuff. Okay, what else do we have? Oh, gee, Jay Sweezy, thank you. Donna Anderson knows more about the Cluster B gang than a lot of psychologists. Unfortunately, in many cases, that's true. Our own research showed that approximately half of therapists really do not understand what goes on in these relationships. And that can be really damaging. People go for therapy when they've been in this kind of a situation and find out the therapist has no clue what they're talking about. And not only do they not get any help, but they feel invalidated. So we actually have several programs for therapists because we hope to educate therapists so that they can be providing appropriate support and services to their clients. So if there's any therapists watching this this video tonight, please check out what we have because it will help you understand how to help clients. Okay, what else do we have? Yes, my husband had credit cards in our name and spent it to entertain friends. Now we are getting a divorce and I am responsible for 50% of the bill. You better be careful about that because he may want to arrange things to make you responsible for lots more than 50%. And also in your divorce, if the divorce decree says that he's responsible for 50%, you better have some kind of enforcement mechanisms in your divorce decree because he sees, I guarantee you, he will see no reason why he needs to pay that bill, and he'd be happy to stick the whole thing with you. So you need to figure out a way to enforce that if that's what the agreement is. Okay, what else do we have? Okay, so CC is me says, Donna, can you re-explain that they know right from wrong but choose right from wrong anyway? Why? The problem with sociopaths is that the only thing that they want is whatever brings them pleasure at the moment. I mean, there is no core in a sociopath. There is no loyalty to ideas, to values, to love. I mean, they do not have the ability to love. I mean, literally, they are missing the parts that make the rest of us human and give us the ability to love. So consequently, the only thing that gives them satisfaction is power and control and, getting what they want, exerting influence over other people. So they do grow up in our society. They have the opportunity to absorb the lessons of what's right and what's wrong. They often know the rules technically, but they have no moral compass that encourages them to follow the rules. And plus, they have very weak controls. They don't have internal controls so that they can do things impulsively. So, for example, they can choose to follow the rules, because plenty of sociopaths will, drive on the right side of the street and stop at street signs and, wait for the light to turn green before they go. So, they'll do what they think suits them, but they're not doing it because it's right. They're doing it because they don't want the inconvenience or the hassle of getting pulled over with another speeding ticket or something like that. So, typically, as they get older, they may not engage in the impulsive rule breaking that sometimes they do as they're young, but they're still miserable people and they're still out for themselves. But it's just something that you need to accept about the personality disorder. I mean, this is just what they are. They feel that the rules do not apply to them, so they feel quite comfortable to break any rules that is in the way of them getting what they want. Okay. Well, Toby says, I consider these weekly chats akin to attending Al-Anon meetings, only more effective for moving forward. Oh, that's great. I'm really glad that it's helping you out like that. Okay, predators only see us as easy prey. Yeah, that's true. In fact, I've had people tell me that they actually... I have one guy in one of the Love Fraud surveys. He was sitting across the table at a restaurant from a woman who he ended up getting involved with, much to his regret. But he said that, she looked at him and he got the feeling of what it was like to be a gazelle when a lion was looking at it. I mean, that's how creepy it can be. So yeah, they actually do look at us as prey. Okay, so then we have one question here from CC. Does bipolar born personality disorders or vice versa? Bipolar disorder isn't the same as a personality disorder. There's differences in mental disorders. Some situations which are kind of like diseases. And what that means is that you used to be healthy and now you're sick. Like, this is if you have anxiety or depression or PTSD. And I'm pretty sure bipolar disorder fits into this category too, is that, sometimes you were okay and then something happened and you're no longer okay. With personality disorders, it's not like that. Personality disorder is part of who you are. And it's the seeds were planted within you genetically, and then whether or not it comes to fruition depends on your environment and your experiences as growing up. But there never was a time when you didn't have the personality disorder. I mean, you don't get a personality disorder as an adult. It can come to fruition when you're older, but it's inborn to start with, or at least the predisposition is inborn. So it's not like you used to be healthy and then you got sick with a personality disorder. It's part of who you are. Now, bipolar isn't quite like that. They have the manic session parts and the depressive parts. But interestingly enough, there are quite a few cases where people can have both personality disorders and bipolar disorder. It's called comorbidity. That means that you can have a couple things going on at the same time. Pretty scary, but yes, that does happen. Okay. All right. Well, that appears to be all the questions for tonight. So thank you all so much for joining me on Love Fraud Live. And we'll be back next Tuesday. And we'll take another look at the next episode of the Love Fraud TV show and see what will be going on in that one. Okay. Thank you so much. Good night.